and it looked like there is more drama coming out of the Caitlin Clark pipeline with her final preseason game.
I wish Caitlin Clark gets back, or I can't feel my face.
Oh.
I can't feel it. Are they?
She gonna do it.
Nah, man. I don't think she let that just go. I'm gonna just be honest.
Caitlin Clark is back, and so are the refs still acting like they got their certifications from a cereal box. If you thought last season's ref drama was over, think again. She's out here casually dropping 30, while the officials seem to be shedding brain cells by the minute. Did no one think to switch them out, or are they just lifelong members of the anti-Caitlin club? Get your snacks ready, because this train wreck is somehow more intense than her three-point range. And yes, it's maddening in the most ridiculous way. Let's break it down.
They need to be investigated ASAP. We see what's happening with Caitlin Clark. There's no reason you shouldn't be protecting your star player, because without Caitlin Clark, there won't be no sold-out arenas. The viewership on TV would not be like it is now, where everybody's watching it because it's must-watch TV. But we are seeing how she's being.
You know what's apparently more difficult than defending Caitlin Clark in a WNBA game? Finding a referee who can actually catch it happening. Once again, she steps onto the court with a target on her back. The size of Indiana gets clotheslined like it's peak WWEF, and the refs? They're off meditating in the bleachers or birdwatching mid-play. You'd think they signed up for interpretive arts, not pro hoops. Because what we saw during Indiana Fever versus Atlanta Dream wasn't officiating. It was modern dance with whistles.
WNBA refs, and start the video there and center it on that. The WNBA refs are not consistent. A hit to the arm on one play is a foul, and a hit to the arm on another play is not a foul. The inconsistency is really bad for this league, especially with all these players you got coming in. You got Caitlin leading it.
Caitlin Clark, arguably the most buzzed about player to enter the WNBA in decades, is just trying to play ball, while the opposing squad looks like they're filming a reboot of American Gladiators. She's setting plays, making shots, delivering assists, and getting tackled like she's got unpaid debts. Atlanta Dream didn't just bring intensity. They came in with a blueprint titled, "Stop Caitlin at all costs." If not with defense, then maybe with brute force.
DJ Carrington situation. Yesterday, I did a DJ Carrington video kind of breaking down that whole thing, technical on that. They didn't call nothing on that for her poking Caitlin Clark in the eye, and that really had me thinking like, damn, they didn't call nothing on that for her poking Caitlin Clark in the eye, and that really had me thinking like, damn, how many times did they actually, drop the ball and didn't call stuff against Caitlin? Now, Caitlin got called for a technical for hitting the back of the back.
And yet again, the referees stay silent, not even a whisper. You'd have better odds getting a foul call from a vending machine. But it gets even more absurd the only time a whistle came out. It was to tag Caitlin Clark with her first technical foul of 2025. That's right. After missing every shove, elbow, and trip thrown her way, the refs decided her biggest offense was a frustrated expression. Apparently, the new rulebook says it's okay to beat someone up. Just don't let them look annoyed about it.
Gets her first tech.
Maybe the WNBA should invest in emotion sensors because heaven forbid Caitlin Clark frowns after being thrown into the furniture. That's a T. These refs are like the horror movie characters who ignore the obvious villain and blame the wind. She could be hurled headfirst into the concession stand, and they'd still call it incidental contact. Nothing to see here, folks. Carry on.
I'm here to tell you, this is getting mixed reviews. Some people saying Caitlin Clark pushed off. Another person is saying the other players bear hug Caitlin Clark. But let's read what the caption stated. It says, the ref standing right there watching her put two hands on CC waist. If he didn't call that, he ain't calling the push off.
Let's talk about the crisis, yes. Crisis in WNBA officiating that makes you wonder if refs are using capture the flag rules. Caitlin Clark isn't the only one being hit like it's hockey season. She's just the one people are actually watching. And that matters. You'd think the league would treat her like the marketing goldmine. She is a walking boost to attendance, viewership, and social media numbers. Instead, it feels like they're saying, let's grow. women's basketball by turning a blind eye to her getting leveled. The league's silence is louder than the hits she's taking. No clarifications, no warnings, no oversight. Meanwhile, less famous players are catching similar punishment without the media coverage to expose it. If this is their idea of protecting talent, maybe it's time they revise the rules, starting with banning gladiator-style defense.
Pushed around, she's being slapped around, sometimes she's being punched around, and the fouls just keep getting harder and harder. When are the refs going to do their job? As a matter of fact, when is the WNBA going to do their job? Because there should be some suspensions, check. There should be some fines, check. And you should be setting an example for your star player. Because God forbid this young lady gets hurt. Everything collapses for the WNBA. So give credit where it's due. Stop with the hate behavior. Start calling the calls the way it's supposed to be.
It's honestly impressive how consistently bad WNBA officiating is across the board. Truly democratic incompetence. Equal opportunity in letting things slide. Get hit in the face? No call. Get slammed into the stands? Probably your fault. Ask a ref why they didn't see it? That's a technical, buddy. The standards for misconduct are so low they might be buried. Remember Caitlin Clark's now famous technical? What exactly did she do? Breathe confidently. The message seems clear. If you're talented and show any reaction, prepare to be penalized. But this isn't about one bad whistle. It's about a trend that gets more obvious every game. When teams can't beat Caitlin with skill, they go full contact and count on the refs to sip their lattes and ignore it. The signal being sent? Don't compete fairly, just hit hard and hope no one's paying attention.
I want to see none of the calls being missed like we seen last year, bro. These referees have to get it together. Now, we know the Indiana Fever front office did everything they had to do, put the right pieces around Caitlin Clark, make sure they make it far in the playoffs, and possibly get a WNBA championship. Well, that part is done. We got a new team. We got a new coach. They got everything they need to do to take off for the 2025 season. The only thing left is these WNBA referees. This need to be talked about, just like it was supposed to be talked about at the conclusion of that season. And I'm back on a bumper, bro. I am not letting up on them damn WNBA referees because they are the biggest haters when it comes to Caitlin.
Yes, Atlanta Dream. We saw it all. Defense wasn't the strategy. It was a live action. Audition for American Ninja Warrior, with Caitlin Clark starring as the main obstacle. At one point, I half expected a siren to blare as someone shouted, "She's made it through the gauntlet." That wasn't basketball, it was a contact-heavy stunt show. And the WNBA refs? Totally unbothered. They stood there like theater critics, nodding as if this display of chaos was some brilliant modern art exhibit. Truly a showcase in aggressive femininity. At this point, Caitlin should come equipped with shoulder pads and a helmet because regular gear clearly isn't cutting it. Though, knowing these officials, they'd probably hit her with a tech for being too prepared. But beyond the absurdity lies a real issue: WNBA refereeing. If these refs were any less predictable, they'd be a toddler choosing their favorite snack. You can bulldoze someone without consequence but raise your voice, and suddenly you're the villain in a soap opera.
Indiana Fever fans, we got another W in the preseason against the Atlanta Dream, 81-76. There's a lot that went on in this game. So this was a very competitive game. All the way through, they were given full court defense on Caitlin Clark. For the most part of the game, the starters did sit after three. Caitlin Clark finished with 13, 7, and 6. She could have had 12 to 15 assists. Wait until you see the highlights. She did drop a couple bombs. She hit 3 3-pointers. We did get a...
The league keeps asking for more attention, higher attendance, better ratings, bigger crowds. Here's a radical idea. Maybe don't let your marquee player get tossed around like she's in a pro wrestling match. Watching Caitlin Clark get slammed, elbowed, and steamrolled like she's sprinting through a Hollywood chase scene doesn't exactly say, must-watch basketball. And the refs? They're not officials. They're just glorified spectators with whistles. Honestly, try Traffic cones would provide more resistance. At least cones don't pretend to enforce rules. These refs act like they're clocking in for steps, not calls. And the real MVP of this mess? The league office. Silent. Invisible. Not a statement in sight, not even the usual PR fluff. Nothing but radio silence, as if safeguarding your stars, is an optional setting in the franchise mode. You have to wonder, are league officials even watching these games? Or are they relying on highlights delivered by Pigeon Post and a 2003 modem? Because from here, it looks like apathy dressed up as authority.
Biggest hurdles for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever last season was the WNBA referees. Now, the front office made it their business to revamp the team, bring in more aggressive players to help them get further in the WNBA season and possibly win a WNBA championship. But before any of that stuff could even get done, we have to take a look at the misguided missile that can destroy everything this upcoming season, and that is the WNBA referees and this secret agenda. Yes, there was a secret agenda against Caitlin Clark.
Let's also address the wild truth. Caitlin Clark, a once-in-a-generation player, is apparently being penalized for making the league relevant. Because that's what this is. The more headlines she earns, the more she's targeted on the court. And what's the league doing? Letting her become a crash test dummy in mascara. Imagine LeBron James getting shoved into the first row with no whistle. You'd see congressional hearings. ESPN would pause all programming. Adam Silver would hold a press conference in a Denny's parking lot. But Caitlin gets tossed like it's nothing, and what do we hear? Silence. It's like there's an unspoken resentment brewing, as if the league is irritated that this breakout star is demanding equal treatment. The real irony? The WNBA finally has the spotlight it's chased for decades, and instead of elevating the moment, they're letting it spiral into a blooper reel.
On to the fun stuff. So I don't know if you guys know, but Caitlin Clark did promise Coach Stephanie White that she would only get 2 techs for the season. And she has already received her first before the season started. No, this does not count towards the season technical fouls, but if she is promising Steph White 2 techs for the season and has already received her second tech in her second game, I wouldn't bet on her only getting 2 techs. But, you know, it is Caitlin Clark, and whatever she puts her mind to, she can usually...
And speaking of those refs, can we talk about how completely allergic they are to basic logic? It's as if they have an EpiPen labeled common sense and refuse to use it. One moment, a player gets slammed with full-on WWE energy, and there's nothing but silence. Next, someone exhales near the basket, and suddenly it's an opera of whistles. Technical for side-eye, ejection for eyebrow movement. It's like they're producing a bizarre theater piece titled Basketball, but make it nonsense. Their rulebook must have been written during a caffeine-fueled squirrel convention. Or worse, by consultants who've never made it past halftime. Let's just be honest. WNBA officiating isn't simply bad. It's developed its own genre, somewhere between dark comedy and existential horror. Call it 50 Whistles of Grey, a chaotic fever dream you can't stop watching. At this point, the only thing you can rely on is that absolutely nothing will make sense. Encore.
Fouls are definitely surprising at times. I feel like I do get help.
She sold this flop perfectly. I gotta tip my hat to it. Had her hand on her chest. Most people who flop, they always do the little face thing. And she sold it perfectly. I gotta give it to her. Here's like a play from a different game. Watch Caitlin's reaction. She wanted to really call out.
Now, about Caitlin Clark's first technical foul of 2025. It's not the story of a rattled rookie or a meltdown under pressure. It's about a player finally reacting after being used as a springboard for 4 quarters straight. She didn't throw hands, didn't cuss anyone out, didn't go full wrestling on center court. She showed emotion. That's it. After enduring yet another game that looked more like no-rules grappling than pro hoops. And for that, she gets whistled. Let's be real, Caitlin Clark didn't bring the chaos. All she did was show up and excel. But somehow, in this warped narrative, she is. painted as the issue. It's almost comical how the WNBA took what should have been a highlight-filled rookie season packed arenas, record viewership, merch flying off shelves, and decided to light it up like a bonfire with a refereeing crew that looks more lost than a GPS in a tunnel.
We just got a technical foul for talking to the ref after a turnover led to an open Bree Jones layup. Looks like she was looking for a foul on the possession that led to the turnover. Before you ask, I don't think they count towards the 7 in a regular season, but I'm not sure. And this is the foul that she was arguing with the ref.
Time and again, the refs have ignored blatant fouls when Clark gets shoved, hit, or knocked to the ground only to find their whistles the moment she responds. If they're so uninterested in enforcing the rules, maybe hand them brooms. At least then they could clean up the damage they're leaving behind. Clark's not asking for superstar calls, she just wants consistency. A fair game. Equal treatment. But right now in the WNBA, the only rule that seems to hold is all bets are off when Caitlin Clark has the ball. The inconsistency is more than a problem, it's a disgrace. And if the league doesn't wake up, it's about to waste its biggest moment in years. Maybe someone in charge will eventually say something. Maybe refs will get retrained. Or maybe pigs will fly and whistle correctly from midair. Who knows? What's painfully clear is that Caitlin Clark is being battered. Like this is rugby, not the league that's supposed to celebrate elite women's basketball.
Attendance for Indiana Fever games? Are you kidding me? WNBA draft, games on ABC, ESPN, television ratings. She's directly responsible. And people were resenting her for it like she was the cause of the problems that they had for the lack of recognition. No, she just happened to be born white. That's it. Caitlin Clark hasn't spoken against anybody. She hasn't assisted in denying anybody else the privileges they deserve. If anything, she's tried to provide assistance. A rising tide lifts all boats. She's trying to be the rising tide.
It's like every defender sees her with a giant neon target reading "Hit me," and the refs, too busy counting ceiling tiles to notice. Clark isn't just absorbing fouls, she's being checked, elbowed, shoved, and dragged like she stumbled into an NHL game. And what's the response? Blank stares and swallowed whistles. If this is some kind of initiation ritual for rookies, someone better adjust the difficulty setting before we're tuning into her press conferences from a hospital bed. If Caitlin Clark hopes to make it through a full WNBA season intact, she might need to wear armor, or better yet, strap GoPros to every ref just to catch an actual call. Because right now, expecting fair officiating, that's the real technical foul.